Hello, my name's Rob Edwards. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. And today, once again, we find ourselves talking Wheel of Time. In particular, we have yet more preview stuff. As we ramp up towards the first episode on November 19th, more and more stuff is coming out, and I am only getting more hyped for this show. This weekend just gone was New York Comic Con, and there was a panel there hosted by Prime Video about a lot of their upcoming shows, including a nice meaty section about the Wheel of Time. And I'm going to go through not everything in it, just a few of the things which really struck me as fun or interesting in here. As I did with the trailer discussion, I'm going to go through, I've got like 5 slides, 6 slides, something like that. I'm going to go through them all completely as spoiler-free as I can, and then go through a second time and talk about some spoiler type stuff. So in the first half of this video, feel free to stay around. There will be no spoilers here, apart from character names and place names maybe, but no plot information at all. So I actually came into the panel slightly late, I'm embarrassed to say. If I hadn't spotted the YouTube channel The Dusty Wheel was doing their watch along for the panel, I'm not sure I would have realised it was on at all. So very, very grateful for them. And I did sort of catch it halfway through, but I saw a lot of good stuff, a lot of fun stuff. And what a great cast of wonderful, wonderful people we have here to have a look at. So across the top, I've forgotten her name, the sort of host of the discussion was from Nerdist. And then we have Rafe Judkins, who is the showrunner for Wheel of Time. Rosamond Pike, of course, playing Moiraine, and Daniel Henney. And then across the bottom, we have Yoshi Stradowski, I think. Marcus Rutherford playing Perrin. Zoe Robbins playing Nynaeve. And Madeline Madden playing Egwene. Now, I'm just going to go through this in the order that it occurs to me. I'm not necessarily going to go in the order it was presented. So I just things which caught my ear as we were watching the show. One of the things they talked about was who was actually reading the books. And the sort of honour of the furthest through the books went to Yoshi, Randall Thor, who is apparently on book 11, Knife of Dreams. And that is some commitment. I'm fascinated to find out. It's interesting, actually, how much have the actors been told about the journey that their characters go through? How much of it is they're just wanting to see for themselves? How much of it is coming from reading the books themselves? I don't know the answer to that question, but clearly Yoshi is all in on reading ahead, and he talked about having almost reached the top of Everest, which I thought was quite fun. There was talk about several of the other cast also reading the books and not being terribly far behind as well. But Rafe also mentioned, having mentioned to one, I think the costume department or the props department, talking about a character who is set to die in series 3. I'm not going to say who, when, how, why, what. But the member of the crew that he was talking to about this was mortified to learn a spoiler that they didn't want to know, which I thought was particularly fun. We also had a really interesting. I mean, Rosamond Pike, of course, brilliant actress, been in the business for quite a while now, and hearing her insight into the way that she approached the act of channeling, or acting the act of channeling, and the way that she talks about if there were no special effects, she wanted it still to look like she was connected to something, that she was doing something, and that is why there's a lot of hand motions in her portrayal of Moiraine. And she also said, which I was quite interesting, that each new cast member who plays a channeler who's brought in gets to have their own relationship with the way that they perform channeling, because as we see in the books, the way that people learn channeling, the way people are taught channeling, the way that people experience channeling is different from individual to individual. So the fact that Rosamond Pike does it this way does not mean that the person playing Elada does it that way, or Verin does it that way. So I'm really, really interested in that. I thought it was a really fascinating insight to the process behind making it, which I thought was great. There was some really interesting insight from all of the cast, actually. I thought Zoe Robbins talked quite eloquently about playing Nynaeve and the relationship that sort of costuming had with the way that she performed the role. I thought Marcus Rutherford was, again, really interesting the way he talked about how big the sets were, how immersive the experience could actually end up being. And Daniel Henney talked about having a fun relationship with the stunt actors who play Trollocs, so that you have to beat them down and then pick them back up again and beat them down again for a second take, which I thought was quite fun too. Of course, one of the big excitements from this panel was a clip from episode 1. And I want to have a look at, again, just a couple of moments from that clip and talk about those. So let's have a look at that. First of all, just a quick shot here of Yoshi and Marcus playing Rand and Perrin. I have to say, having heard Yoshi's natural accent in the panel before I watched the clip, I was a little bit concerned that Rand was going to have a terribly different accent from all the other people in the Two Rivers. But I'm delighted to see that, playing the role, he adopts a sort of more generic accent, let's put it like that, than his natural speaking voice. And the two of these guys on screen together, it is clear that Perrin and Rand are friends, and that's core to what goes on in this series, what goes on in these books, that Rand and Perrin and Matt and Egwene and Nynaeve, the Emmonsfield Five, are close, are connected, and feel that connection one way or another throughout the story. Next up, I just have to talk. Everyone I've seen has talked about the rather theatrical entrance that Lan and Moiraine have. That Lan comes in here and sort of poses and is challenged, interestingly, by Nynaeve in the first instance, to demanding to know who he is, and he sort of pulls back his hood and says, "I am Lan Mandragoran, and this is Moiraine," and then Moiraine has this rather dramatic entrance behind. And interesting, looking at this shot, you'll notice that there is no Moiraine waiting in the doorframe as Lan is being challenged. So she's clearly hiding off somewhere, and they've rather practiced this entrance. That is not a new thought. I've seen that on just about every video that I watch talking about this clip. But it is true. The more I think about it, the more ridiculous the whole thing is. But it's still quite a cool, dramatic entrance. Nynaeve here looking fierce. And as she's challenging the new arrivals to Two Rivers, she has her hand on her dagger there, ready to what? I don't know, stab the guy? I'm not entirely sure what she's planning there, but she is absolutely ready to defend her home. One thing which is a change to the way the scene is staged in the books is that Moiraine is immediately recognised as an Aes Sedai. Her Great Serpent Ring is recognised straight away. There is no attempt to pass off with a different name, as she does in the book. I think the amount of time it takes to introduce her as Lady Alice and then reintroduce her as Moiraine, probably they're looking to cut what corners they can in terms of unnecessary complication to get straight to the heart of the material. And I've no problem with that particularly. Also interesting, the way that Moiraine looks around the room, surveying the people that are meeting her in the Winespring Inn. I thought that was a very interesting thing that I will discuss a bit more in the spoilers section of this. So it's a short clip. really nice, sets the tone, sets the colour palette. I thought some of the earlier shots that we saw were a little bit bright and colourful. This sequence, is a much sort of, not darker in the sense of, sort of threatening or anything, but more sort of lived in, more comfortable and cosy, I guess, rather than sort of brightly lit and kind of in your face, which I enjoy. I think that's a positive thing. So that's all I had to pick out from the clip there, certainly for the non-spoiler section. The other thing that he did say is he did introduce 3 new actors who are going to be joining the cast for season 2. And he said that I think it was Kira Coveney is going to be playing Elaine Trakand, and also introduced Mira Sayal there in the middle and Natasha O'Keefe, but he did not say who they were going to be playing. And that, I think, is probably the first thing I want to talk about when we get into spoilers. So that's where we're heading now. That's it from me. If you don't want to get into any spoilers, and please don't, if you've not read the books, come to the show fresh is my advice. But if you are happy to stay around, let's have a chat around some of the information. And I'm going to work backwards through my slides. So let's start by talking about these 3 actors and what it means for the show. First of all, the fact that Kira is cast for season 2 pretty much confirms that we're not going to have any time in Camelin in season 1, which I think is quite interesting. I can see why they've done it. I can see why they've done that. It certainly makes sense of the shots in the trailer where we saw Moiraine in the White Tower. So I think they're going to end up getting to Tar Valon rather than going to Camelin. And fine. I hope we get to see Camelin. There are a lot of characters I like in Camelin that I want to see more of, but I completely understand if they're trying to streamline things, why the Camelin diversion might be a little bit too complicated. I also have to say this Kira person does look a lot like I imagined Elaine Trakand to look. So I think that's a really, really good bit of casting there. I mean, obviously it depends how she plays the role, but I'm quite excited by that. Now, as for the other 2, I am not going to buck the trend here. As soon as they announced Mira Sayal as cast for season 2, my immediate thought was that she would be playing Verin Sedai, a fascinating character, one of my favourite supporting characters across the entire series of books. Such an interesting character. And as soon as I saw Mira Sayal, I thought, actually, she would make a wonderful Verin. Obviously, I know her from sort of comedy shows that she did at the start of her career. She also did a guest shot in Doctor Who, which I really enjoyed. But she's been in so many things, and she's such a good actor. I'm really excited. And if she is going to be playing Verin, and that's certainly my hope, I think they've picked exactly the right person for that role. I think she'll be brilliant. Now, who is Natasha O'Keefe playing? There does seem to be quite a bit of variance on theories on this. I saw one suggestion, I think it was the Dusty Wheel actually, suggesting that she would be playing Selene / Lanfear. I told you, spoilers. I don't know. She looks... although I know that Selene is a lot older than she looks, I think actually this actress looks older than I pictured Selene appearing. Now, that might just be a case of me needing to readjust my perspective somewhat. She absolutely could be playing Lanfear. But there are so many other characters she could be playing. She could be playing Morghese. There's a whole host of Aes Sedai she could be playing in there. I think Rafe did say that Mira and Natasha were going to be playing important characters to there. I'm trying to remember which Aes Sedai have already been cast. because, Sheriam, has she been cast yet? That would be quite an interesting cast for her. There are so many powerful, important women in the Wheel of Time. She could certainly be any of them. Let's go back to the clip now. And I just wanted to mention the fact that Moiraine looks at 5 characters in the Winespring Inn. She looks at Nynaeve, Egwene, Mat, Rand, and Perrin. So she is obviously clocked straight away that Egwene and Nynaeve have the potential to channel, and she knows the age of the boys that she's looking for. So she knows exactly who she's interested in this room, and I love that. It's not just sort of introducing, or not. It's not just. On one level, it looks like having a chance for our main cast, the 5 people who presumably we've seen before this point, how they react to Moiraine's presence. But it is also very much telling us who Moiraine is interested in, which I think is really quite fun. No stick for Nynaeve, but she has got a dagger. So I don't know. I think she probably still needs her stick, to be honest. I think giving people a thump with a stick is very much in character. I can't imagine she goes around stabbing people from the Two Rivers to make her point when words fail. So absolutely, she's probably still going to need to have her stick at some point. It's actually quite an oddly posed shot, this. But I think it's obvious because I think they do it in the books a little bit. Certainly when people talk about having seen a cloaked stranger in town, Rand absolutely goes straight to thinking that they must be talking about the hooded figure that he saw near his farm. And of course, the hooded figure he saw near his farm was a Fade, not Lan Mandragoran. So I think that they're trying to play up this idea that the two could be mistaken for each other. I get it. It does lead to a rather weirdly staged photo, but there we go. And as I said, the comedy value of the entrance that Lan and Moiraine make is quite high. And final thought from me, really, just on the whole issue of Yoshi being deep within the Wheel of Time. He's on book 11. He is really coming towards the end of the slog at this point. I have great faith in the guy. If he's got this far, he's going to make it to the end. I'm fascinated to find out what he thinks of Rand's end in the books. Oh, and speaking of ends, when I was talking about the member of the cast who was scheduled to die at the end of season 3, I mean, that's Moiraine, right? I mean, it seems plausible. I mean, it's a little bit earlier, I think, than perhaps in the books, but they're not going to do 14 seasons. They just can't do 14 seasons of this show. So I'm thinking they're going to need to condense some stuff along the way. So he might have been talking about Moiraine's death, maybe. Anyway, that is everything from me. I'm very, very excited for this show. It is now, 6 weeks away or thereabouts. Yes, looking forward to it. Looking forward to it a lot. 3 episodes dropping on night 1. I will do reviews of all of them, but don't expect all of them on the 20th, because there is so much exciting television coming out at the end of this year. Doctor Who, Wheel of Time, Discovery, Hawkeye. There's so much, and there are probably 3 shows I'm forgetting about there. There's so much coming over the next couple of months, and I'm very, very excited to give you my thoughts on all of them, whether you want them or not, frankly. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you next time. Cheers.